Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on where you are on this fine planet, and welcome to our presentation on Amtrak Vacations and experiencing the beauty of America by rail. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Nick Bennell, and I have proudly been with Amtrak Vacations now for just about 6 years. Very exciting. A little bit about myself. I am a huge fan of rail travel. I've actually done quite a bit extensively throughout the United States, throughout Canada, and throughout Europe. So something I'm very passionate about and very excited to be here with all of you this afternoon to learn a little bit about what we got going on. Definitely stay tuned towards the end of the presentation, as we'll have some exclusive discounts for all of you, as well as one lucky person will win a $100 Amtrak Vacations gift card. And I'm beyond excited to show this off right now because this started this morning. Literally this morning, 9 a.m. Eastern time, started up our fall into savings sale. It's good till next Friday, October the 12th. Essentially, if you book any of our vacation packages for 2019, if you upgrade from coach to Roomettes, you save yourselves $200 per couple, or upgrade from coach to bedrooms, you'll save yourselves $300 per couple. But take full advantage of this promotion. You want to book by next Friday, October the 12th. And I can tell you firsthand, this promotion is fantastic and you won't want to miss out on that, as it's really, really wonderful. I can tell you the phones have been ringing off the hook all day in regards to this. I can hear it right now, actually. So you won't want to miss out on this wonderful promotion. As well as, don't forget to download the handout where that top arrow is pointing. It's going to have a lot of great information that we're going to go over, as well as a lot of great information on the fall into sales savings. Fall into savings sale rather. And if you have any questions at all throughout the presentation today, as always, where that bottom arrow is pointing, that questions box on your GoToWebinar control panel, please feel free to input any questions, and I will be more than happy to answer any questions we have towards the end of the presentation today. So let's hop right into it, and first and foremost, ask ourselves, why Amtrak Vacations? Well, there's several reasons for that. First and foremost, traveling by rail is a bucket list experience. In fact, we've surveyed all of our travelers from last year as to why they chose traveling with Amtrak and Amtrak Vacations, and the number one consensus answer we kept seeing was that it was a bucket list trip. If you think about it, your clients, they have, and all of you, you guys have done ocean cruises. You've done the river cruises now in Europe. You've done escorted tours. You've done all-inclusives, and you've gone to Walt Disney World, and you're looking for that next adventure. Something fun, something different, something unique. The rail can satisfy each and every single one of those needs. There's room to roam. Take what you know about being cooped up in an airplane for hours on end, or in a motor coach where you can't get up and move around at all. With Amtrak, it's the exact opposite. You're encouraged to freely move amongst the train. Get up, move around the train, visit the cafe car, visit the dining car, or visit my personal favorite, the observation car. There's less hassle. There's none of this business about checking in 24 hours ahead of time, or paying for your check luggage ahead of schedule, or better yet, there's also showing up 2 to 3 hours before your departure time. There's no need for that at all. How does 45 minutes to an hour sound? I can tell you that is the average time people will typically show up prior to the Amtrak departure, truly making it as hassle-free and as worry-free as possible. There's city-to-city service. Now, one thing I absolutely dislike are long airport transfers, and I know a lot of you can definitely, vouch for that. Well, keep in mind with Amtrak, you can avoid those, as you typically go from downtown to downtown. There's no need for those transfers. Look at New York Penn Station. It's right in the heart of Midtown Manhattan. Look at look at Chicago Union Station, which is in the heart of downtown Chicago in the Loop. Or better yet, look at Los Angeles Union Station, which is in the heart of downtown LA. We can put you right where you want to be right off the bat, so you can start your trip off on the right foot. Satisfy your hunger. Now, this will touch base on just a little bit later. I just want you all to know that whenever you do upgrade to sleeping accommodations, you get your meals automatically included. You won't want to miss it on it, as the food on Amtrak is delicious. And lastly, flexibility. One of the best parts about our vacation packages is they have the ability to operate almost on a daily basis. Keep in mind, on the cruises and escorted tours, they have select sailing dates or select start dates, whereas our packages, almost every single trip operates on a daily basis, with just the exception of a couple of our seasonal national parks. Now, I love showing this map because it really amazes me at how extensive Amtrak's system really is. In fact, Amtrak services 46 out of the 48 continental states here in the U.S., with the exceptions of South Dakota and Wyoming. And last year, Amtrak set the ridership record with over 32.5 million passengers. To put that into perspective, if Amtrak was an airline, Amtrak would have been the sixth most flown airline in the world. It's very exciting. It definitely goes to show that there's no time but now to experience the rail as it is in demand. Now, you might ask yourself, where can I start my vacation package? Well, luckily for you, you can start any of our vacation packages at any of the 500 Amtrak stations throughout the United States or Canada. Or if you wanted to, you can fly to your start destination and fly home from your end destination. It's completely up to you. In fact, I can tell you about 60% of our passengers will fly at some point on their Amtrak vacation. Now, one of the best parts about traveling by rail is you have the ability to skip the traffic and take the train. In fact, we have a saying we like to use around here. Why not take the road less traveled? That road being Amtrak. All you have to do is kick back, relax, and let us do the driving for you. No one's going to get in the way of our rails. All right. Do you not like to fly? Take Amtrak. In fact, this speaks volumes to me. In fact, my sister does not fly at all, and she has to rely on Amtrak to get to her vacation destinations when she wants to go travel. So keep in mind, if you don't like to fly, the train is the perfect way to go. Now, this is my favorite slide in the whole entire presentation, hands down. What do we see on the left-hand side? We see clouds, right? It's pretty boring if you ask me. And in fact, if you think about it, clouds are going to look the same no matter where you go to in the world, from the skies and from an airplane. But we look at the right-hand side, we see pristine coastline and beaches, we see big cities, we see mountains. These are just some of the examples of those beautiful landscapes that can only be seen from an Amtrak train. See, we're really lucky here in the US. We have every type of landscape imaginable. We have those beaches and coastlines, those big cities, those mountains, but we also have evergreen forests, rainforests, deserts, plains, prairies, swamplands, small town America, and every single last bit of it can be seen from the comfort of an Amtrak train. It truly is the best way to see our national landscapes. Now, for all of our vacation packages, you could choose hotels that work best for your needs. We work from hotels in every destination from 3 to 5 stars, with the exception of our national parks, just because the lodging is limited. But in all the city stays and destinations that we offer, 3 to 5 stars. And keep in mind again, everyone, where can you start your rail vacation? You can start your rail vacation at any of the 500 Amtrak stations throughout the United States or Canada. In fact, all of our rail vacations can be customized to start right from your hometown. Very awesome. Now, we offer quite a few different types of travel styles that can really cater towards any type of traveler. First, we have our independent rail journeys. Now, these are our multi-city, multi-state, week-long to even up to 16-day-long trips. They're incredibly comprehensive as they do cover quite a bit of ground. So if you are looking for a bit of a longer trip, these are the perfect ones for you. We have our rail experiences, which put the focus on the journey rather than the destination. So we tend to keep the hotel and destination stays at a minimum, where the true focus is being on the train as much as possible. We have our rail getaways, which are our single city 2 to 3 night long trips. If you're looking at getaway maybe for just a couple of nights, we have tons and tons and tons of options throughout the United States and Canada for these, especially if you maybe want to get away for a long weekend or just a couple of nights. We have tons of options, definitely some right by your hometown. We have our rail and sail programs. Now, I love these because they take 2 completely different travel styles and roll them up into one amazing package. So we not only will you get the journey on board Amtrak, but we also line that up with an Alaskan cruise out of Seattle or Vancouver. In fact, we have partnered up with Norwegian Cruise Lines to bring this packages to life. And lastly, custom rail journeys. Perhaps you see something today that you might want to tweak. Maybe you want to add nights, remove nights. Maybe you want to add a destination, remove a destination. Maybe you want to do a trip in reverse. Maybe you want to do just a portion of one of our vacation packages. Or maybe you have a dream trip in mind, but we might not necessarily offer that exact trip. Well, keep it in mind. Everything we offer has the ability to be customized for you. So keep that in mind. We can make your dream rail trip become a reality. And lastly, we offer rail connections into the United States national parks, and including some of the most popular, like Glacier National Park, the Grand Canyon, Yellowstone, Yosemite, just to name a few. In fact, we work hand in hand with some of the hardest national park lodges in the United States to bring these packages to life for all of you. So keep that in mind. National parks are really the way to go with Amtrak Vacations. So with all of that said, everyone, let's hop right into it and all aboard. Let's hop into some of our most popular vacation packages where you can really experience the beauty of the United States by train. And of course, the first we're going to go into is our Grand National Parks with Yellowstone, Yosemite, and the Grand Canyon. Now, this trip is incredibly popular as it A, visits some of the most iconic national parks here in the U.S., and B, utilizes some of the most scenic rail routes in the U.S. So this trip, we do an overnight train from Chicago to Salt Lake City on one night on board the California Zephyr train. We arrive in Salt Lake City the following evening, and we do one night in a downtown Salt Lake City hotel. The next morning, we'll hop aboard the Salt Lake Express, which is a motor coach transfer, which will bring us from Salt Lake City up to West Yellowstone, where we'll do 2 nights up in one of the lodges in West Yellowstone. While we're up there, we will get a sightseeing tour, a full-day tour of Yellowstone National Park's lower loop, which is an amazing tour that highlights a lot of the park's key sites. So you'll see the Grand Canyon of Yellowstone, you'll see the Grand Prismatic Springs as seen right on your screen, and of course you'll see Old Faithful, Yellowstone National Park's most iconic landmark. In fact, it is guaranteed on this tour you will see the Old Faithful geyser erupt. Now, once our fun up in Yellowstone is all done, we will then hop aboard the Salt Lake Express and take that back down to Salt Lake City, where we'll then do an evening train, an overnight train from Salt Lake City to San Francisco, where we arrive the following afternoon. And in San Francisco, we are going to do 2 nights in a downtown San Francisco hotel. And while we're in San Francisco, we will have a full-day guided motor coach tour to Yosemite National Park. Now, you won't have to worry about getting yourselves to and from the park. The tour will pick you up, drive you out to Yosemite, and you will get a full-day comprehensive tour of the Yosemite Valley. Once our fun in Yosemite is all said and done in San Francisco, we will then take some day travel on Amtrak's most scenic train. In fact, it's been voted the most scenic train in North America the past 3 years, the Coast Starlight. We leave San Francisco in the morning time and we arrive into Los Angeles, California later in the evening. And we do one night in a downtown Los Angeles hotel. The next morning and afternoon, we will have a guided city tour of Los Angeles that highlights a lot of the key sites that LA is famous for. And once our fun in Los Angeles is all said and done, we will then board an evening train, an overnight train on Amtrak's Southwest Chief, where we do an overnight train to the Williams, Arizona, where we arrive the following morning. In Williams, we will then switch right over to the famous Grand Canyon Railway, which is that antique steam train that will take you from Williams, Arizona, up to the south rim of the Grand Canyon. Now, I love it because it adds another train experience to a train vacation. So not only do you get the Amtrak experience, but you get that classic antique steam train experience as well. And there's a reason why that train has been operational for over 110 years. It passes through the largest ponderosa forest in the state of Arizona. So it's really beautiful. When we get up to the South Rim, we are met by a motor coach for a guided tour of the Grand Canyon South Rim that highlights a lot of the key sites up at the South Rim. And then we do one night up in one of the lodges at the Grand Canyon South Rim in the Grand Canyon Village. The next afternoon, after our night at the South Rim is done, we then take the Grand Canyon Railway back down to Williams, and we do one night in Williams at the Grand Canyon Railway Hotel. And then the next morning, we hop aboard the Amtrak Southwest Chief and do an overnight train back to Chicago. So this right here is fantastic, and the best part is when you do the train back to Chicago, you get some really beautiful views of the Red Rocks as you pass through them on the Southwest Chief. I can tell you I've actually done this train ride firsthand. I can tell you the scenery is unbelievable, and especially when you get into like the Southwest, it's really pretty. I can tell you I remember going through New Mexico on the train on the Southwest Chief and seeing wide open desert plains with snow-capped mountains in the backgrounds and plateaus. I mean, I'm from the Boston area. We don't have plateaus around here, so I honestly felt like I was going to see Clint Eastwood or John Wayne going to ride alongside the train on Come On Board. I felt like I was in the Wild West. It really, really was some memorable experiences. So this trip right here, everyone, 13 days, 12 nights. We get a sightseeing tour of Yellowstone National Park's lower loop. We get a sightseeing tour of Yosemite National Park. We get a sightseeing city tour of Los Angeles. We get round trip on board the Grand Canyon Railway. We get the motor coach freedom tour of the South Rim. All in all, 8 nights hotel, 4 nights on the train. And yes, those 4 nights on the train are in coach accommodations, which we can absolutely upgrade to the sleeping accommodations. You'll get a private room with beds, shower access, and your meals on the train would be included. Now let's continue. Maybe you don't really want to visit our national parks. Maybe you want to experience just one of our wonderful rail experiences where, if you remember, is the focus is on the journey rather than the destination. Then we got your back with our most extensive one. It's our Grand Rail Experience, which, as you can see, does a giant loop throughout the continental U.S. You get to see actually almost every single region of the United States. So this trip, we start off in Chicago when we do the 2-night train on board the Empire Builder, where we do the 2 nights on the train, where we arrive into Seattle, Washington 2 days later, and we arrive into Seattle, and we do 2 nights in a downtown Seattle hotel. While we're in Seattle, we get a guided sightseeing city tour of the city of Seattle that will highlight a lot of the key sites that Seattle is famous for. After our stay in Seattle is all said and done, we will then hop aboard the Amtrak Coast Starlight, and we will do the Coast Starlight in its entirety as we go from Seattle all the way down to Los Angeles, where we arrive the following evening. When we get into LA, we do one night in a downtown Los Angeles hotel. And then the next morning, we'll have a guided sites, or we'll have a hop on, hop off sightseeing tour that you can utilize during the morning and afternoon. And then that evening, after the tour, we will do 2 nights on board the Sunset Limited, which is the most southern route on board the Amtrak system. And we're going to do that from Los Angeles all the way to New Orleans, where we arrive 2 days later. When we get into New Orleans, we'll do 2 nights in a downtown New Orleans hotel right in the French Quarter or on Canal Street. And while we're in New Orleans, we will have a guided city tour that will highlight a lot of the key sites of New Orleans. After our stay in New Orleans is all said and done, we will hop aboard the Amtrak Crescent train, which is a wonderful, very, very scenic train ride that goes up through Alabama, through Georgia, through western South Carolina, western North Carolina, and western Virginia as you arrive into the next morning into our nation's capital of Washington, D.C. When we arrive into Washington, we will do one night in a downtown Washington hotel. And while we're in Washington, we will have one of my favorite tours I have ever done. It's a nighttime tour, and I've been thinking, keep this in mind, I've been all over the world, literally all around the world, and this is one of my favorite tours I have ever done. It's the Monuments by Moonlight tour. It's an evening tour that will take you by some of the famous monuments and monuments and memorials of Washington, D.C. You get to see them all illuminated in the evening time. It is really, really beautiful. Once our fun in Washington is all said and done, we then hop aboard the Amtrak Capital Limited train and do an overnight train back to Chicago. This one, everyone, 14 days, 13 nights. We get hop on, hop off tours of both Seattle and Los Angeles. We get a city tour of New Orleans, and in Washington, D.C., we get the Monuments by Moonlight tour. Overall, 6 nights hotel, 7 nights on board the train. Yes, those 7 nights on the train are in coach accommodations, which we can absolutely upgrade to the sleepers. Definitely keep in mind with that the fall into savings sale that you definitely would want to take full advantage of, as you can get upgrade to a sleeper, get a private room with beds, shower access, and your meals on the train would be included. Now, maybe you might say, Nick, that looks wonderful, but maybe I want it to be a bit shorter. Well, we got your back with that. We got our ever popular Northern Rail experience, which is very popular as it utilizes 3 of the most scenic routes on board the Amtrak system. So once again, we find ourselves in Chicago doing the 2 nights on board the train from Chicago to Seattle on board the Empire Builder. We arrive in Seattle and we do 1 night in a downtown Seattle hotel where we will have a hop on, hop off sightseeing tour. Once our fun in Seattle is all said and done, we will then hop aboard the Coast Starlight once again, where you'll get wonderful, amazing, beautiful views of the ocean, as well as some of the rich evergreen pine forests, as well as some of the wonderful Pacific Northwest rainforests. And we arrive the following morning on the overnight train into San Francisco, where we do 2 nights in a downtown San Francisco hotel. Now, while we're in San Francisco, we get a hop on, hop off sightseeing tour, as well as we get a full day tour of the Muir Woods and Sausalito. So you'll get to see the giant redwood trees of the Muir Woods, as well as the coastal town of Sausalito. And to cap that all off, we get a San Francisco Bay cruise. Once our fun in San Francisco is all said and done, we then hop aboard the California Zephyr and we do 2 nights on the train from San Francisco all the way back to Chicago. And that train ride is beautiful. It passes through Eastern California as you pass through the Sierra Nevada mountains. You'll pass in through the Donner Pass, through Nevada, through the Rocky Mountains of Utah and Colorado, and then you'll pass through the farmlands of Iowa and Nebraska, leading us back into Chicago. So this trip right here, everyone, 9 days, 8 nights. We get hop on, hop off tours of both Seattle and San Francisco. We get a sightseeing tour of Muir Woods and Sausalito, and a bay cruise while we're in San Francisco. All in all, 3 nights hotel, 5 nights on board the train, and yes, those 5 nights on the train are in coach accommodations, which once again, we can absolutely upgrade to the sleepers. We'll get a private room with beds, shower access, and our meals on the train would be included. Now, maybe you want to pay a visit to one of our most popular national parks. In fact, it's our most popular seasonal national park. We're going to pay a visit to Glacier National Park. In fact, this is our most popular seasonal package that we offer. It's our Glacier National Park Express. Now, it is very seasonal as it runs only from mid-June to mid-September. Glacier Park season is only from mid-June to mid-September. And the reason for that is simply because, yes, it is in northern Montana, so yes, it does snow about 9 months of the year up there. So really, June to September is Glacier Park's time to shine. And this package is so popular as you get mountain views, lakes, pines, all the way on the Empire Builder train as you go from Chicago to Glacier National Park, and to Seattle. This trip is amazing. It's 10 days, 9 nights. We do 2 nights in Chicago, right where we want to be in downtown Chicago. While we're there, we get the Shoreline Sightseeing Architecture Cruise, which is the boat ride that will bring you down the river in Chicago and highlights a lot of the famous buildings and skyscrapers. In fact, Chicago is the birthplace of the modern skyscraper, and this tour highlights a lot of those famous buildings. Once our 2 night in Chicago is all said and done, we then hop aboard the Empire Builder train and do an overnight train to Glacier National Park, where when we get into Glacier Park, we do 3 nights at the Glacier Park Lodge, which is the oldest and most historic of the Glacier Park Railroad hotels. It's really fantastic. And while we're there, we get 2 tours. The first tour is called the Big Sky Circle Tour. Now, this is a full-day tour, and it utilizes the Going to the Sun Road, which is the main highway that runs right through the middle of Glacier National Park. It definitely is the most comprehensive tour that Glacier Park has. The second tour we get is a boat ride on Two Medicine Lake, situated in the Two Medicine Valley. It's another area of the park, actually, that first tour does not highlight, so you get to see a whole separate area of Glacier National Park. From Glacier, we then hop aboard the Empire Builder train for one more overnight on board the Empire Builder, where we then arrive the following morning into Seattle. In Seattle, we do 2 nights in a downtown Seattle hotel. And while we're in Seattle, we get admission tickets to the Space Needle, Seattle's most iconic landmark, as well as the Chihuly Garden and Glass Museum. Now, for those that aren't familiar with Chihuly, Dale Chihuly is this really great artist that makes these beautiful glass sculptures that look like flowers and plants. This is his headquarters and museum, and the best part is it's situated right at the foot of the Space Needle. Now, this package right here, 10 days, 9 nights, we get all the wonderful inclusions that I just went over. Is 7 nights hotel, 2 nights on board the train. Yes, those 2 nights on the train are in coach accommodations, which we would definitely want to upgrade to the sleepers, where you can get a private room with beds, meals on the train included, as well as shower access. Now, maybe you want to pay a visit to our most popular year-round national park. Keep in mind, we got the Grand Canyon. In fact, this is our most popular package for the Grand Canyon. It's our Grand Canyon round trip from Chicago. Now, the reason why it's simply out of Chicago, and if you notice, a lot of these packages start and end in Chicago, is simply because that is Amtrak's hub station. But you can absolutely pick any of these packages up, if you remember, from any of the stations, the 500 Amtrak stations throughout the United States or Canada. But this one utilizes the Southwest Chief, and you get some really amazing views, once again, of the desert landscapes and the red rocks as you pass through the Southwest. This package is 6 days, 5 nights. We get 3 nights hotel, 2 nights in Williams at the Grand Canyon Railway Hotel. We get 1 night up at the South Rim. We get round trip and coach accommodations on the Grand Canyon Railway. We also get the Grand Canyon Freedom Tour of the South Rim. Overall, 6 days, 5 nights, and you get also round trip and Amtrak and coach accommodations between Chicago and Williams, Arizona. But perhaps if you do want to upgrade, you can absolutely do so on this one as well. And I can tell you, actually, a really great thing that a lot of people will do on this is maybe add an extra night to the South Rim, so you could actually do some of the wonderful sightseeing that they might have up at the South Rim, whether it be a hiking tour, a wildlife tour, or one of the wonderful tours that National Park Services has to offer. Definitely a fantastic inclusion. Now, maybe you think all this is great, or maybe you just want to do a trip that's really quick, maybe potentially, maybe just one of our getaway trips. Well, keep in mind, we get some wonderful options for those as well throughout the United States and Canada, and one of our most popular ones year-round is Niagara Falls. Now, this definitely is, you would want a passport, as it is Niagara Falls on the Canadian side, so passports aren't necessary, but this package is fantastic. We do 3 nights hotel, right in a hotel that's going to be literally footsteps away from Horseshoe Falls, which is the biggest of the falls. From there, we then do, we also get the Niagara Adventure Pass, which is really fantastic, which is wonderful, as you get admission to the top 4 of the top attractions up at Niagara. So you get, first off, Niagara's Fury, which is the 4D IMAX show about Niagara, the making of Niagara Falls and how it was formed. You get the Journey Behind the Falls. We get the White Water Walk, and you also get the Voyage to the Falls, which is the boat ride that will bring you up to the falls themselves. We also get admission to the Skylon Tower, which is the observation tower that overlooks the Niagara Falls and the Niagara region. And we also get dinner at a popular local restaurant. Highly recommend a restaurant we work with that's called the Watermark, which is located inside the Hilton Hotel that overlooks the falls. It's really fantastic, as it offers some premier views of Niagara Falls. Now, maybe this sounds great, but maybe you don't want to head north, but instead maybe you want to head south. Well, we got your back with New Orleans with our New Orleans Ultimate Getaway. And this trip is so popular as New Orleans is always a wonderful spot to visit. I can tell you, I just went there recently for the first time and absolutely loved it. This is a wonderful trip. It's 4 days, 3 nights right in the French Quarter, right where you want to be. While we're in New Orleans, we get a couple different things included. So the first thing we get included is a set of choices between the Swamp and Bayou Tour, the Hurricane Katrina Tour, the Steamboat Natchez Evening Jazz Cruise, or the Oak Alley Plantation Tour. Now, I always recommend doing the Steamboat Natchez Evening Jazz Cruise because it kind of kills two birds with one stone, if you think about it. Not only do you get to go on board one of those big old-fashioned paddle wheel boats, but you get to hear some of that live jazz music that people flock to New Orleans to hear. On top of that, too, we get we get dinner at a popular local restaurant. There's this wonderful place we work with called Two Jogs. It's the second oldest restaurant in the city of New Orleans, and you highly recommend doing a dinner there. We also get the New Orleans visit ticket for 2 days, which is this pass that will get you into more than 25 of New Orleans' top attractions. So you can get into the San Francisco Plantation House, Blaine Kern's Mardi Gras World. You can go to do a Cajun and Creole cooking demonstration. You can go to the National World War II Museum. You can do a walking tour of the French Quarter. You can do a ghost tour. You can do the zoo, the aquarium. I mean, there is more than 25 options on that pass. Highly recommend this trip. I love New Orleans, and if you've never been, definitely got to experience it firsthand. It's such a fun town. Speaking of fun towns, another really fantastic one is the city that never sleeps. The most populous city here in the US, always a popular option, one of my favorite options. That's right, we're going to New York. New York City Ultimate Getaway. This is a wonderful trip. 4 days, 3 nights hotel right in Midtown Manhattan, right where you want to be. While we're in New York, you'll get a multi-day hop-on, hop-off sightseeing tour, which will take us around the city of New York on a big loop, and you can get off and on as you please at all the different sites and attractions. You'll also get dinner at a popular local restaurant. Once again, I'll make a suggestion of a place called the View. It's the revolving restaurant atop the Marriott Marquis Hotel, which is really amazing as you'll have some really majestic views of the New York skyline as you enjoy your dinner. And lastly, you get the New York City Pass, which will get you admission into more than 6 of New York's top attractions. You'll get into the Empire State Building, the Metropolitan Museum of Art. You can go to the 9/11 Museum and Memorial, the Statue of Liberty in Ellis Island. It gets you admission into. Definitely quite just a whole bunch of different things. You can also go to the Guggenheim. Yeah, definitely offers quite a bit on there. So keep that in mind. It's really wonderful. After our stay in New York, we can definitely include all of this wonderful stuff. Another cool thing to keep in mind too for New York City is we also work with all of the top Broadway shows in New York except for Hamilton, so we can offer tickets to all of the top shows in the city of New York. And lastly, a presentation wouldn't be complete without paying a visit to our nation's capital. Always a popular option, one of my favorite spots. I can tell you every time I've been to Washington, I've found something new and exciting to see and or do. This is our most popular package for Washington. It's our Washington, D.C. Ultimate Getaway. 4 days, 3 nights hotel right in the Capitol Hill or DuPont Circle area of town. While we're there, we have a hop-on, hop-off sightseeing trolley, which will take us around the city on a big loop, and you can get off and on as you please at all the different sites and attractions. We also get admission to either the International Spy Museum or the Newseum. You get to choose between which one. I can tell you, the Spy Museum is all about the history of the spies and espionage. They have a really great James Bond exhibit, or you can do the Newseum, which is all about the history of the news and the mass media. And to top it all off, we also get the Monuments by Moonlight tour. Once again, my favorite tour, that nighttime tour that'll take you by some of the famous memorials and monuments of Washington, D.C. Now, I know I've been mentioning a lot about the packages and destinations, but what about the train experience? So let's hop right into that. And the first thing I want to cover is Amtrak's luggage policy, which is definitely one of the most generous in the travel industry. Take what you know about the airlines and picture the exact opposite, because Amtrak actually is quite generous. In fact, it's the most generous in the travel industry, as I mentioned, as each passenger is allowed 2 pieces of carry-on luggage up to 50 pounds each bag, as well as 2 pieces of check-in luggage up to 50 pounds each bag, as well as a personal item. So figure along the lines of a backpack, briefcase, pocketbook, purse, or even a small duffel bag. Good luck finding that on the airlines. I think most airlines at this point charge more than $25 for just one check bags. Once again, this is all standard on board Amtrak. And I know I've been mentioning a lot about sleepers and upgrading and coach, and what does this all mean? So let's hop right into that. And the first thing I want to go over is coach seating, which, as you can see, is a pretty standard seat on board the train. But take what you know about airplane seating and picture the exact opposite, because coach seating on Amtrak is actually very, very comfortable. And the seats themselves, wow, they're typically double the size of your standard airplane seat. They recline at a 45-degree angle, and they also have a leg rest as well. And the legroom is uncomparable. In fact, last year I traveled with one of my colleagues who's 6'6". He could fully stretch his legs out and still have room to spare. Good luck finding that on an airline. And if you do, you're going to be paying quite the premium. Once again, this is standard on board the train. Now, coach seating is great. However, meals are not included, and neither is shower access. If you're doing a night or more on board the train, you're probably going to want to eat. You're probably going to want to take a shower. So where do we go from there? That's right, we upgrade to the Roomettes. The Roomettes are by far the most popular type of sleeper on board the train. During the day, it's two big seats that face each other with a big picture window in between and a fold-out table in between. At night, the two seats convert to the lower bed, and right above where this lady's head is, the top bed pulls down. Now, I do want to make note with the Roomettes, meals are included. However, the bathrooms and showers are located just down the hall. And yes, they are private but shared. So yes, you will be sharing them with the rest of the people that have roommate accommodations in the same car, but it's private. Once you're in there, you're in there. There's a lock on the door. It's not like a college dormitory where people are coming in and out. And the neat thing is it's a full-size bathroom with a full-size shower. Now, you might say, Nick, this sounds wonderful, but is there a way I can get my own bathroom in room? Well, yes, you can absolutely upgrade to the bedrooms. The bedrooms are a little bit bigger than the roomettes, and it's a bit of a different setup. So during the day, it's more of a sofa-style seating, like where that gentleman is sitting with an extra captain's chair as well, where the lady is sitting. At night, the sofa-style seating converts to the lower bed, and right above where this gentleman's head is, the top bed pulls down. Now, I want to point attention to the little diagram on the right-hand side. You see a little closeted-looking thing? That is a private toilet, sink, and shower for your use and your use alone when you have the bedroom accommodations. Now, I know I've been mentioning a lot about meals and dining and getting upgrades, you get your meals included, but what exactly does this mean? Well, we're going to pick on the airlines once again. Take what you know about airplane food and picture the exact opposite. The food on Amtrak is actually delicious, and you would be amazed at the quality of meals that are served on board the train. I'm talking about for breakfast, for example, there's pancakes or waffles, bacon and eggs, omelets. For lunch, there's juicy cheeseburgers, grilled chicken salads, and pasta dishes. For dinner, there's fish, there's chicken, and there's Amtrak's signature dish, which you can see right on your screen, the Amtrak signature steak, which I can tell you firsthand, I had it 2 nights in a row once and absolutely loved it, and no, you all will too. The whole process about dining on board the train is really lovely. As soon as you board the train, the dining car attendant will come by, set up reservation times that you want to eat your meals. When it's time to eat, you head down to the dining car, take a seat in one of these big comfortable booths with a white linen tablecloth layout. You get to order off a menu as well as from a server like you would at a restaurant. So really, if you think about it, Amtrak isn't just for transportation anymore. Really, it's a restaurant, a hotel, and sightseeing all on wheels that are all rolled up into one amazing experience. And we've barely scratched the surface of what we have to offer to all of you. If you pay a visit to our website at amtrakvacations.com, it'll bring you here. There's a couple different ways you can see through all of our packages. So the first option is if you go where that red arrow is pointing at the top, hover over that destinations tab. From there, you can navigate through and see all the different packages and destinations we have to offer to all of you. Or you can search by that middle box by destination. You can search by specific train routes, tops, departing stations, as well as your geographic region. As well as while you're on our website, definitely feel free to drop by the trip planning section where you'll get some really valuable information and some know before you go information in regards to dining, luggage, as well as the onboard the train experience. And once you find the dream trip in mind, you're ready to book, there's a couple different options to book with us. You can give us a call at 1-800-268-7252. One of our amazing vacations consultants will be more than happy to assist you. You can book through our website at amtrakvacations.com, or what I always recommend and what I always do, give a call or pay a visit to your local travel agent, and they will be more than happy to assist you with planning your dream rail vacation. I can tell you firsthand, I have been in the travel industry for more than 10 years, and I still might use my local travel agent to this day because they are one of the best resources out there, and they have my back and always have my best interest in planning my dream trips and the best vacations possible. And keep in mind, everyone, We offer some really great everyday discounts as well. If you're traveling with any children ages 2 to 12, the kids get a 50% discount off the rail portion of an Amtrak Vacations package. If you're a senior traveler age 65 and over, you get a 10% discount off the rail portion of an Amtrak Vacations package. And lastly, if you're active duty military, you, your spouse, and your dependents get a 10% discount off the rail portion of an Amtrak Vacations package, just as a thank you for your service. And once again, keep in mind, the Fall into Savings sale started today, 9 a.m. Eastern time it started. It's good till next Friday, the 12th of October. You won't want to miss it on this, as it is fantastic. For all 2019 vacation packages, you can upgrade from coach to Roomettes and get $200 off per couple, or from coach to bedrooms and get $300 off per couple. I can tell you the phones have been ringing off the hook. People are ready to book. So if you're looking to plan your 2019 vacation, look no further. Here's a wonderful promotion you won't want to miss out on. And once again, don't forget to download the handout. It's going to have some great information on that sale that we have going on, as well as if you have any questions. I've seen tons of questions coming through, so if you have any questions at all, please feel free to input those questions into the questions box. So before I answer all these wonderful questions that have been coming through, I have to name our today's lucky Amtrak Vacations gift card winner. Today's lucky winner is, drumroll, Jeanette McClelland. Congratulations, Jeanette. Well deserved. And for everyone, definitely keep it in mind, that flash sale, because you won't want to miss out on that. And now it's time. I'm going to start at the top. Let me scroll, and I'm going to start answering some of these wonderful questions. So I have a question here from Connie. How comfortable are the beds in your sleeper car? The beds, to me, are actually very comfortable. And people ask, is it hard to sleep on a train? No. In fact, I love sleeping on a train. I actually get a really great night's sleep. It's the gentle motion of being on the train. Reminds me of a lot of sleeping on a cruise, where that gentle motion kind of rocks you to sleep. I actually find it very, very calming and very peaceful and very relaxing. So the beds are very comfortable. Let's see. Jeanette, how do I combine rail travel with my own separate lodging and arrangements? So you can book just the train through Amtrak, but we handle the whole package for you, and especially with the flash sale going on right now, you can get some of our packages for next year at some really remarkable rates. Paula, do you have to start these tours in Chicago? Folks in Seattle would like round trip from there. Yes, all of our trips can be customized like that. So if you have folks that want to start in Seattle as opposed to Chicago or any other city, or you want to do a trip in reverse or just a portion of a trip, yes, our trips are fully customizable like that. Kim, sorry, Kim, hold on. There we go. Are any routes going to see the return of the parlor car? Not anytime soon, unfortunately. I have not heard of anything. I know that the Coast Starlight had it, but I don't think they currently do, of the parlor car. Albert, are you able to travel with a firearm in your checked bags as you can with airlines? You can, but it has to be in a lockbox and it has to be disassembled, and you have to claim it prior to. You cannot just be walking on the train with a firearm. It doesn't work like that. But if you claim it, put it in a locked box and in your luggage, as well as have it disassembled, you are good. Kim, can you get the fall savings if you're a single traveler? Yes, it would just be half. So for the roomettes, it's $100 off per person, as well as for the bedrooms, it's $150 off. And Fayola asked the same question. Yes, you can absolutely do that. Mayetta, I will look into that for you, most definitely. I have a question. Can I travel single and get a room? Yes, most definitely. You could do that. And the neat thing is, a lot of people often ask, will I be paired with someone else or a stranger? No. If you get a room, it's your room. You're going to be the only one in there. Joseph, do you have any options for senior single travelers? Any of our trips can really be done as single senior travelers. I can tell you a lot of our clientele, about actually 26% of the people that do travel with Amtrak Vacations do travel solo. And I can tell you traveling by rail solo is very relaxing. I actually did it recently myself. Let's see, Connie, would you say the beds comfort-wise are comparable to what pull downs are like on a cruise? Actually, that's a very good comparison. Yes. I'd say a little bit more comfortable, but on that same caliber. Tracy, do you provide transportation between hotel and train? No, usually you're on your own with that. But the hotels we work with are usually within a mile or two of the train station, so a quick little taxi would suffice getting you to and from. There are some hotels that we do work with that are A, walking distance from your hotel, or B, provide a complimentary shuttle. But as a whole, a taxi or an Uber or a Lyft would definitely be your best bet. Valerie, we unfortunately do not offer any buy one, get one free trips. Santi, should we want to plan a trip from South Africa? What tips do you have for foreigners? I mean, definitely, if what I would recommend, and I'm actually glad that you mentioned that, because I couple of years ago was our international team leader. So I got to work with a lot of folks coming out of South Africa regularly. A lot of popular options is if you really want to maximize seeing the United States, definitely utilize the more scenic routes out west or do one of our cross country options that you'll be able to see the most that if your time here in the United States. I would definitely recommend that because there's so much to see here in the US. It's a massive country. It's very, very big, and there's so much to see and do. Really narrow it down to what you want to see and what's important to you. And then if it's the scenery and definitely want to check that out, I recommend the long distance routes out west, hands down. I have a question here. Do you put a deposit down when registration or pay in full? So I always recommend you can put a deposit down. Most definitely, if you're booking far out in advance, you can always put a deposit down. It's just final payment is due 60 days, no matter what, 60 days prior to your departure date. So say if you booked something for next year, you put a deposit down. Now the deposit's going to be based upon the total cost of your vacation package. But as far as having a payment, it's full payments due 60 days prior. So you can make as many payments as you want, just as long as that final payment is due 60 days, is in 60 days prior to your departure date. Great question. I thank you for that. Let's see. Ray, I live in Vegas. Do you connect me to a train station? So Las Vegas is very, very tricky as there is no train, as you can see. The best way to get from Vegas is either we can get you a motor coach to Los Angeles or to Kingman, Arizona, and you would actually go by means that way, and you can connect to the train. David, do you offer any AAA or AARP discounts? Unfortunately, no to either. Amtrak did away with the AAA discounts earlier this year. It was through Amtrak Direct. Any more questions, anyone? I think we might be at the end of questions. So if anyone has any more last-minute questions. Paula, are deposits refundable? If you partially, if you get our cancellation trip protection, that part would not be refundable. But whereas if you canceled, and depending on when you canceled, you get partial cash back as well as some on a voucher. It really is dependent on when the date you're canceling. Thank you, David. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Albert, is public transportation readily available at the stations to get to your hotels? Usually taxis are, especially in major cities, most definitely. I can tell you, as soon as you step foot out of Chicago Union Station or LA or New York or any major metropolitan city for the most part, this cab stand right there. And those cabs know when those trains come in, so they're ready to rock. Jeanette, how do you redeem your gift card? You want to call that number on your screen or give a call or pay a visit to your local travel agent for that. But to definitely take full advantage of it, you want to give that call and to that number on your screen. And I can tell you, Jeanette, I'll share something because we do these presentations 3 times a day. Our gift card winner from the first one already booked the trip immediately after they did the presentation. Immediately. I mean, this fall into sales savings sale that we're doing is really, really great. So you won't want to miss out on that. William, when connecting into VIA in Toronto or Vancouver, is there a change of train or does VIA take over the Amtrak equipment? That's an amazing question, William. Thank you. I actually just learned this myself when I did it myself. They switch over to VIA. As soon as you cross the border, it's the Amtrak crew comes off and the VIA crew comes on for the remainder of the portion. Connie, you're welcome, Connie. Thank you. Connie's actually doing a trip to all the Utah parks out west. So that's fantastic. That's really, really fantastic. Connie, honestly, the best way to sway them is to get the sleeping accommodations is it's very comfortable. I can tell you, if you've ever slept on a cruise, it's very similar to that. And honestly, the train's very relaxing, and it really is the best way to see the beauty of the United States, especially if you're tying it with seeing national parks. I mean, seeing the landscapes on your journey en route to Utah to see the parks is just all part of the appeal and just added features and added bonus to your vacation package. David, do you offer Montreal and Quebec programs? Yes, we sure do. That's some of our most popular Canadian destinations is packages with Montreal and Quebec. We have a really fantastic combination trip, as we do have a partnership and do work hand in hand with Via Rail Canada as well. Really great question, David. Thank you. Yes, William's asking, has most of the infrastructure been completed around Penn Station and delays are over? Yes, so all the trains are back routing through Penn Station. There was that point during the summer they were routing through Grand Central just because they were working on the station and on the surrounding rails. Yes, everything's back to normal. That's a great question, William. Paula, for the park store, are there dome cars for night sky viewing? Yeah, I mean, on the observation car, that thing is open 24/7 while you're on the train. So whenever you're on the train, the observation car is readily accessible. I can tell you, especially when I did it firsthand. So I can tell you, especially when you're going through like places like I remember being on the train going through Kansas at night and seeing the scenery from the stars was so beautiful from the observation car. Just because you're passing through a lot of untouched land where there's not very much light, where you can actually see the stars for once, which is really neat. Go for it, Connie. If there's anything I could do to help, or anything we could do to help, call that number on your screen. I have a question right here. In severe weather, do cancel dates. So if there is like severe weather, like the fires out west, or a hurricane, or a tornado, or blizzard, like us folks up here in New England have, if the trains are canceled, we work hand in hand with Amtrak Direct to help find the best solution for you, and we definitely will be able to work with you to help overcome the delays as well as the cancellations or whatever the situation may be. You all, I must say, I'm going to say that you all have done so well with the asking questions. I think you guys might have blown away the first group today, but don't tell them. William's done all the long distance routes, distance trains, and the Zephyr and the Coast Starlight are by far have the most spectacular scenery. William, thank you for mentioning that, because actually I can definitely attest to the Coast Starlight. I've done the Coast Starlight myself from LA up to San Francisco. But actually, funny enough that you mentioned this, a week from today, in fact, literally 1 week from today, right now, from this moment, a week from right now, I will be on myself on the California Zephyr going up to Yellowstone National Park. I'm actually doing our Yellowstone package. So I've actually never done the California Zephyr, so I'm very excited that you mentioned that. So thank you. It's one of the only routes I haven't done yet. I've done quite a bit. I've done the Empire Builder. I've done the Coast Starlight. I've done the Southwest Chief, and I've done the. I did one of the Silver services as well from New York City down to Savannah, Georgia, and it was beautiful as well. So it looks like to me we may be out of questions for today. So I want to just take the opportunity to thank all of you for joining me today. It was really appreciated. Um, oh, I see. Oh, two more came through. I take that back. Thomas, what accommodations are there for parking your vehicle at the train station while it's on a trip? And is there a cost involved? So the train stations are all the parking at the train stations are all usually dictated by third-party companies. They kind of, are contracted from Amtrak. I don't know the costs for each individual station because they really can vary, and the amount of parking, long-term parking spaces can vary between station to station. So I mean, the best part is the best thing to do, I would say to do, is get in contact or pay a visit to your local Amtrak station, and then you can take a look at what the cost of pricing as far as parking long term goes. So, Lynn, I have a quote for Amtrak Vacation, but not booked yet. Can I apply the promotion to this quote? If your quote is for 2019 and involves sleeping accommodations and it's a package, by all means, you can absolutely do so. Definitely would want to take advantage of that, Lynn. Thank you so much, Valerie. I appreciate that. Linda, are any of the packages reversible? Can you start in LA? Yes, you sure can. Our packages are completely customizable like that, where you can absolutely do any trip in reverse. You just want to call that number on your screen or let your local travel agent know, and they'll be more than happy to sort that out for you. So now it looks like that we are out of questions. There's no more coming in. So I want to just take the opportunity to thank all of you for joining me today. And I want to just let you know if you do think of any questions throughout the day, or maybe you want to take a look at some options or book any of these wonderful trips, please give a call to that number on your screen, or better yet, pay a visit or give a call to your local travel agent. They will be more than happy to assist you as well. So I want to take the opportunity just to thank you all for joining me this afternoon or morning, depending on where you are in this fine world. And I hope you all take care and enjoy the rest of your week. Until next time, everyone, we do these presentations every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks. We hope you can join our next one. And until then, everyone, take care. Bye, everybody.